So you've recorded your very first video podcast. Now comes the dreaded task of editing. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can knock out both your audio and video podcast editing lightning fast. For today's video, I'm going to edit down a podcast episode, with the goal being that I want to optimize my workflow for both audio and video platforms. I also really don't want to add a crazy amount of time to my workflow. For my episode, I recorded using OBS and Video Ninja, but using Ecamm Live or even Zoom can work for this process. This workflow also works great if you're recording in person with multiple cameras. In terms of software, I'll primarily be using Adobe Premiere Pro and Audition, but this step-by-step guide can work for similar programs like DaVinci Resolve and Audacity. So first, let's take a look at our files that we'll be working with today. Okay, so inside of my files I have here, I have an Audition project folder, an exports folder where I'll send all of my exported files. I have a graphics folder that includes a widescreen version of my cover art. I have a music folder, which has my theme music for my podcast, a project file, which is where I'm going to hold all of my Adobe Premiere Pro project files, and then my raw files, which basically consist of a solo audio file for me, a solo file for my co-host John, and then I have 2 video files of myself and my co-host. The first step is to fully process our raw audio files. Now, why am I starting with audio instead of jumping straight into video? Well, this is primarily because we want to ensure that we end up with a pristine piece of raw audio that is going to work well within our video editor. This also gives you a chance to clean up noise, apply EQ, and generally shape your individual audio files if you have multiple people that you're recording. One thing to note is that since I'm going to be bringing this into Premiere, I'm going to export out a WAV file from Audition. This is just going to ensure that I end up with the highest quality audio file that I can work with inside of Premiere. We don't want to compress this thing down any further. With our audio process down, we can now jump over to Premiere. In Premiere, I'm going to import my different camera sources, along with that processed audio track that I just created. So we could drop these down into a timeline and start slicing and dicing our podcast up using the razor tool. But why do that when there's an easier way? Behold the power of multicam editing. In the project panel, let's select all of our files, right-click, and choose Create Multicam Source Sequence. In here, we basically just want to set kind of how we all honestly want to create our multicam source. So for this one, we want our audio to be the synchronizing point. And it's also going to move all of our sources into a process clip bin. Immediately, all of our video sources and our processed audio file are synced together. And we have a new sequence that's created right here. This is known as our multicam source sequence. So let's open this up. We can do that by right-clicking, scrolling down, and going to Open in Timeline. And this will show you exactly what we have to work with here. So if you look here, we've got our first camera source, which is just me. If we toggle the output in that, you'll see that my co-host John is on the second source, and those are our 2 camera sources. We also have our audio files, and if we look really closely, we can see that they're all synced together. So we have our pristine audio file here. We have our individual audio clips, which were from each individual source, and they're all perfectly aligned. Let me show you how I can add in a 2-shot split screen to this sequence using the process of nesting. What we're going to do is I'm going to duplicate both my shots here. And I'm actually going to do a process called nesting, which is just kind of grouping them together into their own timeline. Now, since they're already synced up, it's important that I do not move this out of sync, okay? So we're not gonna move these clips at all, but we're gonna highlight the 2, right-click, and we're just gonna choose Nest. And we're just gonna call this 2-shot. We'll click OK, and now you'll see that everything kind of got jumped down into one source. And we can now edit this source if we just double click to get inside of it. So let's take John here and let's just add in first, move off to the side here. And then we'll add in a crop effect. And for the crop effect, we'll just crop in the left a bit. And for myself, we'll do the same sort of move. Just move me over. Okay. And now we have a 2-shot. With our multicam source set up, we can now edit our video podcast. It is as simple as taking our multicam source sequence and dragging it into the Make New Sequence button. Uh-oh, where did all our video sources go? Don't worry, they're still there. Under your program monitor, click on the plus button to access your button editor. Grab the Toggle Multicam View button and drag it onto your program monitor. Toggling this view on and off will display all of the available sources that we have within our edit. To edit your video, it's as simple as playing back your podcast and clicking on one of the camera sources within the Multicam View window. Or you could press one of the numbered buttons on your keyboard that correspond with a given video source. This means that you can edit your video podcast in the same amount of time that it takes to listen to it. And if you want to cut even more time down, you can press the L key on your keyboard to speed up the playback. Now that's all well and good, but what happens if you make a mistake or you want to cut certain things out? Well, that's easy too. So let's say, for instance, you accidentally choose the wrong camera using the multicam sources. How do you switch back to another camera? Let's take a look here. So if we come to, say, one of the cameras that we accidentally clicked on. So say right here, I didn't want to jump to my co-host waving hi. All I have to do is hover over it, okay? And then choose the correct camera that I wanted to use. And that's it. And now if we play it back, and I'm on camera, so that's kind of weird. Hi. Hi. We don't have that jump anymore. It's completely recorded over. Another issue you might run into is if you click on the source too early or too late and you end up with an edit point that is not at the exact time that you want. So like with this example, I want this edit point to be a little bit back further. So how do we fix that? Well, it's as simple as coming over to our tools and clicking and holding and choosing the rolling edit tool. The shortcut key for this one is N on your keyboard. And with the rolling edit tool, all we have to do is click on our edit point and just shift it back further. And now we've shifted that edit point back to where we want it to be. And let's say you have a section that you want to cut out of your podcast. Maybe you flubbed a line, or maybe there's a moment of silence and you want to remove that. How do you get rid of that? Really easy. So let's come over to this section right here, and you can see that there is a little bit of space here where we stopped recording for a moment. How do we get rid of that? Well, it's as simple as using our razor tool, coming to the section we want to chop out, clicking Shift, which is going to cut both the audio and the video, going to the end of the section we want to remove, clicking Hold and Shift, which is going to slice both the audio and the video, select that whole section. If you right click on it, you can hit Ripple Delete, and automatically removes that section and shifts the entire timeline back down. So there's not going to be any gaps that you're going to have to deal with, or you're going to have to move the entire clips. Just Ripple Delete and you're good to go. I'm also going to grab a very short 15 to 30 second clip that'll serve as my hook for the episode, and I'll move it before my music and my intro graphic in the video. Pick something that's really going to grab your audience and encourage them to watch all the way through to the end. For title graphics, I'll use a widescreen version of my podcast cover art and add a little bit of movement to it by adding some scale keyframes right at the beginning and end of the clip. I'll also throw at the end of the video an end screen where I can direct my audience to click on the next video or subscribe to the channel. Now, you can get pretty elaborate with these, but I made mine in Canva. For any music that I want to come in, like my theme music for example, I'll add it to its own audio track and then keyframe the ducking for the audio. The final step is to export out both our audio version and our video version. For our audio version, go to Export, and then in the Export window, choose MP3 from the dropdown. For our video file, when we export, instead of choosing MP3, we want to choose H.264. This will create an MP4, which is perfect for uploading to YouTube. Here is a bonus tip. You can save more time by using project templates. Let me show you how. It's as simple as organizing all of your assets into bins and creating a standard episode sequence that includes all of the elements that normally are within one of your podcast episodes. From there, just go to the project manager and export out this sequence. Now all the titles, graphics, music, and sound are available to you every single time that you open up that project template. Now, editing technology is always changing, especially with the rise of AI. But by using multicam editing in this step-by-step process, you can slay that editing beast in no time. Now, speaking of video podcasts, if you're still a little fuzzy about the best way to record your video, might I suggest checking out this video where I break down the best settings you can use using Zoom to record your video podcast. I'm Brian Cottington from Libsyn, and remember, keep podcasting.